gotta know his limitations. Briggs, or he will just explode. Okay, hello there, thrill seekers. Ich bin im München. That's probably pronounced completely wrong. I am in Munich, Germany, and in just a little while I will be headed to Benediktushof, which will be the last stop on my 2023 European tour. So I hope some of you took my advice and signed up for the events, but I don't think you can sign up now because the Benediktushof thing is starting today. But you can go to the thing I'm doing in Bozeman, Montana. I'll put the information about that later. That's in November. Anyway, while I've been here, I got an email from Michel Proul, who is helping work on the French version of my book Don't Be a Jerk, which I don't know when it's coming out, but I think it was supposed to be out already, but it hasn't come out yet. And they wanted to do a biography of me. They didn't like the biography that I wrote of myself in the English version because it was too self-effacing, and they thought it needed to be punched up and make me sound more exciting. So one of the things they wrote is this. Après son retour aux États-Unis, il s'engage à rendre les zen authentiques, accessibles et explorer des nouvelles formes de pratiquer et d'enseignement tout en restant fidèle à l'essence du Zen. That's what it says. Which means this is me after returning to the United States. Me, committed himself to making authentic Zen accessible, exploring new forms of practice and teaching, while remaining faithful to the essence of Zen. That's what they wrote about me, among other things. And I don't usually write that way about myself. So I wrote back to Michel the following thing. Okay. Did I commit myself to making authentic Zen accessible, exploring forms of practice and teaching while remaining faithful to the essence of Zen? I suppose so. I feel more like I have to do something, and so I figure it's better to do it right. I'd rather be a science fiction novelist or a psychedelic rock guitarist, but instead I'm a Zen teacher. Big sigh. C'est la vie. That's life. I would never describe myself as being committed to making authentic Zen accessible. Now, maybe I am. I just wouldn't say it like that. To me, it's like I could only get a job as a toilet cleaner, but if that's my job, I'm going to make sure I clean these toilets thoroughly. Otherwise, it's boring, you know? I always felt that way about jobs I had in the past. Most of them I hated. But if I did a job that I hated resentfully and in a half-assed way, I hated it even more. So, I hate the job of being a Zen teacher, and the only way I can make it more tolerable is to do it as well as I can. That's my honest feeling. I feel like I am basically a very bad Zen teacher, and I wish people could have good Zen teachers. But almost everyone else who teaches Zen is even worse than me. So among the terrible Zen teachers of this world, I am a little better than most. Just a little, not much. So that's what I wrote him. And let me expand on that a little bit, because I was thinking this might be a good topic for a video, because I think probably there is a lot of people out there, if the internet is to believe, and if my own experience is to be believed, who have jobs they don't like, you know, and you just go in and you do the job you don't like. And I run into this a lot when I'm in Los Angeles. I don't live in Los Angeles anymore. I made a point. They actually, my bio said I lived in Los Angeles, but I don't. I live in Upland. But when I go into Los Angeles, it's especially common to find somebody who's like my real thing is I'm an actor or a writer or a singer, but I'm working in Ralph's Grocery, so and they're kind of resentful of it, and they hate working in Ralph's Grocery, and they're kind of doing a crappy job of if you ask them where's the yogurt, they're like, I don't know, I think it's over there. You meet these people, and I'm sure you'd meet them everywhere in the world, people who have a job they don't like, and so they do it in this kind of half-assed, resentful way. And I will admit I did that myself in the past, because I had a lot of jobs that I didn't like. I can't even count. I remember a few years ago I tried to figure out how many different jobs I'd had in my life, but I'm one of those people who's done a lot of jobs for short periods of time. And I hated most of them, and I just was like, going through it, mopping the floor or whatever. And at some point, I realized what I said in that email, and it might have been kind of somewhat of a result of doing the Zen practice, which is if you're stuck doing a job you don't like, your best option is to just get into it, because that'll make it better than if you do it in a resentful way that you're like, well, I don't want to do this. This especially became kind of apparent when I got my job for Tsuburaya Productions, when I started working at Tsuburaya Productions, because Tsuburaya Productions being the people who made Ultraman, and I was a huge fan of Ultraman when I was a kid, and even when I was an adult. And when I got a job at Tsuburaya Productions, I thought, oh boy, this is my dream job. And then very quickly it set in that, oh, this is a job too. And there's aspects of this job that I also hate, the same way I hated mopping the floors at Woolworths, and the same way I hated loading things onto conveyor belts at various rubber factories that I worked for, from time to time back in Akron, and all these other jobs that I had. I found I could hate it too, and I think that's when it really kicked in, that the way to do a job that you hate is to just put your full thing into it. Now, when I say I hate being a Zen teacher, I probably don't hate it as much as I hated working at Woolworths, or hated putting the stuff on the conveyor belt at the factory. It's better than that, but it's still not my dream job. Like I said in that thing I just read you, the email I sent to Michelle, I'd rather be a science fiction novelist. Hardcore Zen came out in 2004, which is almost 20 years ago. And if you'd asked me, what do you see yourself doing in 20 years? It certainly wouldn't have been traveling around Europe teaching Zen. I probably would have thought, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. But it wouldn't have been my dream, But then I think if I made it as a science fiction novelist or a psychedelic rock guitarist, there would be downsides to that too. The touring schedule for psychedelic rock guitarists is pretty brutal. Science fiction authors, when I read some of the autobiographical stuff that Philip K. Dick wrote, he became successful like during the last 2 or 3 years of his life, but up until then he was just grinding out these books and just trying to make ends meet. So it probably wouldn't have been that great. So the alternatives are probably just about the same. I figure any job you have is going to be about the same. There are probably some jobs that are just really, really, really horrible, so I don't discount that. But for the most part, it's about the same. And I think doing it with your full commitment is the only way to do it. And so, when I am supposed to be a Zen teacher, I do the job of Zen teacher with the full commitment. And when I'm supposed to be making a video about being a Zen teacher, I make that video with full commitment. I just get really into it. And I think this is related to Zen practice in the most direct way this is related to Zen practice is that Zazen is really, really boring. I've been having a lot of conversations as I've been traveling through Europe this time with people about the boringness of Zazen and how tedious it can be, and just like, ugh. Because you're really just sitting there looking at the wall. And, a lot of people imagine that you're having, visions of dancing Shiva or having a great experience or freeing yourself from mind and body and whatever they imagine. Sometimes sometimes that happens, but mostly what you're getting is just like, oh god dang, when is that bell gonna ring so I can at least get up and walk around? That's the main feeling. Even now, after all these years of doing Zazen, that's the main experience I have personally of Zazen, is just like, when is that damn bell gonna ring? It's just so boring and tedious. But it's sort of in that environment of relentless tediousness that one gets, or at least I got, the feeling of, okay, if I'm gonna be stuck here doing this tedious, boring thing, let me at least do it full on. Like, really, really look at my mind and look at my body and see what's actually going on right here in this moment. Doing that enough, one kind of realizes, if you're a little bit smart, I don't think I'm that smart, but I was smart enough, even dumb me was smart enough to realize that the best thing to do is just throw yourself into it. And also, this kind of answers the question that I get asked pretty often, is like, how do you take it off the cushion? People say, well, how do I take what I get from the Zazen off the cushion and into the real life? And I always wonder what they're getting in their Zazen practice that's so different from real life. Because in my case, I always found that what I had on the Zazen cushion and what I had in real life were very compatible. It's like, oh, what I had to do on the Zazen cushion is figure out a way to make it tolerable to just be bored out of my skull for the next 10 hours or whatever I'd committed to on a retreat or something. And that's what I have to do in a job, And I'm like, oh, I figured out how to do this during Zazen. I can also figure out how to do this during a job. So I wonder what people mean when they say, how to take it off the cushion. Maybe they're having the visions of Vishnu and the eternal peace and whatever, and then they come back to their job and they're not having that. I don't know. But even if you have a job that requires you to think a lot and process a lot of information mentally, you can find a way to do that is just, it's just like, here I am doing the thing and just putting myself fully into doing that thing. So that thing at that moment, this is the other thing to take off the cushion, not worrying about the results. If you're worrying about the results of your job, you're going to be stressed, and you're going to be like, oh my God, it's got to turn out right. But if instead of worrying about the results, you just put yourself into this moment of doing the thing, the very actual thing that you're doing right now, without thinking about the deadlines or whatever. I mean, you got to think about the deadlines a little bit, but without thinking about how it's going to be, then that's going to make the result take care of itself, which is just one of the big lessons of Zen. So there's my advice on how to do a job that you hate. It's kind of interesting to me, because I know there's a couple of people, and they're probably both watching this video, who have it in their minds that they want to be me. There's a couple of people who've made my life kind of a pain, especially in the recent years, because they're just so envious and jealous of this guy, and they want to be him, and they want to kind of, one guy forced me out of my Zen center so that he could be me, and then another guy, well, I don't want to get into the specifics, but envying somebody else's job and saying, oh, that person has a great job, but mine sucks. It's not your karma. This is something Shozan Jack Haubner just did a video about. He did a video about resenting rich people. But the thing is, you're not, and like what Shozan said is, he found himself envying rich people, and then realized, well, he'd spent 20 years of his life living in a Zen monastery as a monk. How did he expect to get rich from that? And it's the same thing. It's like, how do you, this is the life that you have, and envying somebody else's life and thinking it's better, it's probably not better. And anyway, it's not your life. So you couldn't have that life. It's just not possible for you to have the life of another person. You have the life that you have. So throw yourself into your life and throw yourself into your job. That's my advice. So, I forgot to show this. I was going to show this to prove that I am in Germany. It's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Zen Geist, Anfängergeist. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but my friend Annette, whose place I'm staying at right now, she has that. So that proves that I'm in Germany. So there you go. If you want to support what I do, you can go to the URL that you should be seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and my Patreon accounts, and those are my main way of making a living, even while I'm out here in Europe doing this thing. I'm not making bank out here doing this thing, so those two of you who are envious of me, just remember it doesn't make me a lot of money. So I do depend on your support. But as always, if you don't want to donate, you don't gotta donate. All right, we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Probably the next video I will make will be from the US of A, because I'm returning there after this retreat. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.